So we have some interesting news regarding future WWE Hall of Famers, the Bella Twins, because Nikki and Brie Bella are reportedly set for a WWE in-ring return. Now, this year's WWE Hall of Fame will feature both the 2020 class and the 2021 class. The Bella Twins are set to be inducted as part of the 2020 class, and they may be in store for an in-ring comeback as well in the future. On the latest edition of Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer reported that the Bella Twins are going to return to wrestle. Now, the return date has not yet been set, but Meltzer noted that the plan is for them to come back in the fall of this year. The Bella Twins have discussed an in-ring return in the past. They've also expressed their desire to challenge for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Nikki Bella recently discussed returning to action on the Bella's podcast. She also revealed she's not been cleared for an in-ring return due to her neck injury. She also was forced to retire from in-ring competition in 2019 after she revealed that there was a cyst on her brain. She said, quote, "I really want to do a WWE return with you, Brie. I really want to go after the tag titles. That's one thing I really want to do before I hang up the Nikes for good. I at least want to do one last run. I guess I've been talking about this run as if I'm cleared, which I am not cleared to wrestle." So I think that's really interesting. I think that's really interesting that Dave Meltzer is saying there that the Bella Twins are going to return later this year, some point in the fall, to wrestle, but Nikki Bella, in the last time she's spoken about going, "I'm not cleared to wrestle." Now, I know people will say, terrible Dave Meltzer, all that kind of stuff, and look, I don't see eye to eye on Dave Meltzer for a variety of things that he says, or a variety of stories that he reports. I think his track record is just as good or bad, frankly, as a lot of people on social media. He's just been doing it longer. I think that's the thing with Dave Meltzer, and he certainly does have agendas. There's no doubt about that. There just is no doubt about that. Nevertheless, I think when it comes to the Bella Twins aren't going to come out and say, "Oh yeah, I'm cleared to wrestle," and then show up. This is, at the end of the day, it's pro wrestling, and I always remind people of that. People get really angry when they get worked nowadays in professional wrestling. They assume that the pro wrestlers, well, they wouldn't try and work us. They're being honest with us. It's like Edge. I remember we used to get this with Edge all the time before he returned in 2020. Remember that period of time? And after he did that spear on Elias at SummerSlam in 2019, all of these rumours, constantly all these rumours. Edge is being cleared to return. Then around, I think it was like October, Edge was cleared to return. That was the report, the rumour that came out. Edge is cleared to return. He's going to be coming back at some point. WWE trying to figure out what to do with him, but he is cleared to return. At the time, Edge comes out and goes, "Nope, not happening. I'm still not cleared. I'm never going to be," all that kind of stuff. And then a report came out saying Edge was spotted in Pittsburgh. He was spotted in Pittsburgh. That means he was going to see the WWE doctors to go through the test to get himself cleared. He goes, "Nope, wasn't in Pittsburgh. I'm not cleared. I don't know what to say, guys, but I'm not cleared. Sorry, guys," all that kind of stuff. Anyway, he was in Pittsburgh to get cleared. That was factually accurate. He said on the WWE 24 documentary about his return to the ring that the whole time he's trying to work the audience because he's trying to keep it a surprise. So when people say, "Well, this person said that they're not cleared to return," that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. And I think it just depends. How long you've been watching pro wrestling, because after a while you become pretty numb to it, and you just choose not to believe anything that a pro wrestler says, unless it's a very serious topic. But when it comes to an in-ring return or anything like that, you can't believe whatever anyone says. So when it comes to Nikki Bella, could she return? Why not? She had a serious neck injury before. When was it? 2016 was around that period of time, and she returned anyway. They returned in 2018 as part of the whole build to the Evolution pay-per-view. Of course, she had the match with Ronda Rousey. She had the tag team match, which she teamed up with Ronda Rousey at the Super Showdown event. I have no doubts in my mind. It's absolutely possible for the Bella Twins to return. I have no doubts about that in my mind. When it comes to the Bella Twins in the Hall of Fame, I know this is a touchy subject for quite a lot of people, and I think, to be honest, my mindset has kind of changed on this one. When they were announced for the Hall of Fame in 2020, the tweets are probably out there, but when they were announced for the Hall of Fame in 2020, I wasn't massively keen on them. I will be completely honest there. And I do think it's fair that people can change their minds, people can evolve. I saw that and I went, really? I looked at it as, were they necessarily really Hall of Fame worthy people to be inducted into the Hall of Fame? And I think, looking back on it, I think they probably are. In the same way that I did a video yesterday talking about the Great Khali. And when the Great Khali was announced yesterday to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame for 2021 as part of the 2021 class, again, there were a lot of people on social media that were, oh, why is the Great Khali? How can the Great Khali, of all people, be added into the Hall of Fame? He was a terrible pro wrestler, and he was awful. He never had a good match and all that kind of stuff. And my response to that at the time is, that's not the criteria. That's not the criteria of being a Hall of Famer. Being an amazing technical wrestler, having great matches, is that really the criteria of being in the Hall of Fame? And I don't think it's that simple. When it comes to Khali, it's about being an attraction. He was an attraction. He was 7'3". He had multiple main event pay-per-view matches, multiple big matches. He's a former world heavyweight champion. He sold tickets because people wanted to see this just, huge attraction, someone that's mythical in his signs, a living, breathing giant. They wanted to see that. They wanted to see if that person could be real. I want to see that with my own eyes. I remember the first time I saw the Great Khali live. It was in 2006 at a SmackDown taping in the United Kingdom, and my head exploded. I couldn't believe the size of this guy. It was insane, and he did a huge amount for developing awareness of pro wrestling and developing the popularity of professional wrestling in India and around Asia, and WWE and professional wrestling around that area of the world. So obviously, I think he's absolutely justified in being a Hall of Fame inductee. And I think it's probably the same with the Bella Twins. Were the Bella Twins the best wrestlers in the world? No. Are they the best women's wrestlers of all time? No. There's a lot about, them being pioneers in the women's evolution. Again, I think that's incredibly debatable. I would argue people like a Paige or an AJ Lee are far more instrumental at developing the women's evolution in WWE, in my opinion. But there's no doubt that they had incredibly successful careers. There's no doubt of their popularity. I mean, look at their following on social media alone. It's ginormous. And they were front and center for the Total Divas reality series. That was so successful that they spun off into their own reality series, Total Bellas. At this point, the Bella Twins, frankly, they've almost transcended WWE because they're more famous now for being the Bella Twins. They're more famous for being these reality TV celebrities, frankly, than being WWE superstars. People know that that's what they did, and that's how they initially became famous, if you will. But they're that kind of modern day celebrity where they're personalities, and they're most famous for being those personalities and their social media following. So I know a lot of people that follow the Bella Twins on social media. They don't have a clue about professional wrestling or WWE, but they know the Bella Twins. So when it comes to that, you could certainly argue that they have such a wide appeal, and they've brought in eyeballs to the product that previously didn't exist, and they've been able to expand the WWE brand into this different field of reality television and social media that they weren't able to before. And if you want to get down to the nuts and bolts of it in terms of their pro wrestling career, look, they're both former women's champion, Divas champion at the time. Nikki Bella is the longest reigning Divas champion in the promotion's history, and I know that's kind of during the dark ages, I guess, of women's professional wrestling, where this was a period of time where they weren't heavily featured on television, or they certainly weren't featured as being wrestlers on television. They were eye candy. They were viewed as anything but professional wrestlers, and they certainly weren't given time and anything like that. But you can't overlook just the sheer popularity that these two have with fan bases, with young females around the world. They're incredibly popular, and two of arguably the most popular female stars of all time. And I know people are going to hear that, and they'll roll their eyes, or they'll shake their fists, and that will get them really angry, and they'll be like, Trish Stratus, Lita, and all that kind of stuff. And with Nikki and Brie Bella on the level of those, no. In terms of popularity, unfortunately, to some people, the answer is yes. They're incredibly popular. And again, they've transcended WWE at this point. They've absolutely transcended WWE at this point. And people like Tori Wilson are inducted into the Hall of Fame, and again, I think that's perfectly justified. I think they're worthy of being into the WWE Hall of Fame. But in my opinion, Nikki Bella, Brie Bella, they had more successful careers in WWE than Tori Wilson, and I think they maybe did more for the product and more for the business than someone like Tori Wilson ever did. So, in my opinion, I never ever had a problem with them being into the Hall of Fame. Well, initially I was hesitant, but now thinking about it, I don't. I really don't have a problem with that. As far as the in-ring return, as I mentioned, we'll have to wait and see when it comes to Nikki Bella. I think Brie Bella could probably return whenever she wants. I don't think she's had really any major injuries. Nikki Bella is obviously slightly different. She had the neck injury. She also had, as I mentioned, the cyst on the brain, which effectively ended her career. I don't know when it comes to WWE clearing her how that would work. To be honest, though, when it comes to that anyway, we've seen so many people at this point. We've seen so many people get cleared when we never thought they would get cleared again. Whether it's Daniel Bryan, whether it's Edge, whether it's Kurt Angle, whether it's whoever. To be honest, I think it's a matter of time for eventually, and this will be maybe a while off, but I think one day, I think Paige will return to in-ring action. I do. I really do, because we've seen it happen. And when it comes to science and medicine, it's just waiting for it to catch up with what you want. And I think that's the case when it comes to Edge, and it was the case for Daniel Bryan, and it's the case for Paige as well. So I think to rule out saying that Nikki Bella will never be able to be cleared again, we've just learned that it's short-sighted to say that, isn't it? And it's too definitive to say that. So I think they will return. When it comes to later this year, what is going to be specifically later this year? Well, of course, the first Evolution pay-per-view, the first and only Women's Evolution pay-per-view, was in October of 2018. One could argue, when Dave Meltzer says the fall of this year, does that maybe subtly confirm we might be seeing another Evolution pay-per-view? And they've said that their goal is to win the Women's Tag Team Championship. So I think there's a lot of spinning plates there, and it's very interesting. Would I want to see the Bellas become the Women's Tag Team Champions? I guess they're, at this point, arguably the most famous women's tag team ever. I mean they're twins, they're family, they're sisters. I mean, arguably, when it comes to the female side of things, you could say they really are the most famous WWE female tag team of all time. I don't think that's really too much to disagree with. I don't think so. If there's anyone, I suppose, that deserves to win the Women's Tag Team Championships, it would probably be those two. So that's very interesting, and it certainly is something that we'll have to keep an eye out on. Obviously, we're going to see them at the Hall of Fame in a couple of weeks' time, and I'm sure this story will rumble on. It'll be interesting to see if it really picks up momentum. If a Nikki Bella or a Brie Bella does come out and say, "Oh, that's hogwash, that's not happening," or if one comes out and says, "Oh, if only." I don't know. Again, I was never the biggest Bella Twins fan or anything like that, but you do have to respect their careers, and certainly what they did for the WWE and the careers that they've paved out for themselves. I mean, I know I've said it several times in this video, but you really can't understate just how popular they are. I mean, just look at their social media and look at the reactions that they get, and look at their merchandise numbers. When they're in WWE, their merchandise numbers were well up there, because they were just that popular. They really are that popular. So certainly going to be interesting, and who knows, hopefully we'll see him return to the ring at some point later this year. But of course, as always, it's just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on the Bella Twins reportedly set to make a WWE in-ring return later this year? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community, drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube, get the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video, along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or having come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.